Hello, everybody. Hello.
I can hear you, Gordon.
Hello, Gordon. I can hear you.
Thank you, lads. There we go. So, I was busy away doing stuff there and realised the time. There's a message up there saying I'm going to have to leave in 10 to 15 minutes. I'm not going to have to leave in 10 to 15 minutes.
No, that was my message to you. I'm going to have to 10, 15 minutes.
Right. Oh, no, I see it there now. Geo. All right. Thanks, Jeff.
Hi, Gordon. Hi, Ricardo.
Hello. Hi, Joe. Hello, Ricardo.
Hello.
So, is all good?
Yes, yes.
I'll just give it a few more minutes there, all right? Right, some people will catch in, and Zhao's got this recording.
Hello, everybody.
How you doing?
I'm gonna be from a car this time around.
Sorry?
I'm gonna be joining you from my car this time around.
I see. Right.
I have to
I can see right through your roof.
Ah, yeah. I have to take my son to basketball, so I'm charging the car and.
Very nice.
But I have my laptop with me, so I hope everything.
Okay. Well, look, we're only a minute past 15, so we've got 19 people in there, so we'll give it a wee bit longer. Where are we? 21 now. Okay. Well, look, we might as well, we'll get started now. Okay, and because I'm just going to go through a few things that we've got there at the minute that I've put up there in the last few days. So, okay, so I'm going to share my screen. Share that one. Okay. And first up, okay, guys. So everybody's welcome. I know we're recording this, so hopefully there it's going to prove useful over the next few weeks and going forward. I put some material up here, okay, up in general, okay, under files, and I put up the brief, okay. The last recordings there, presume this recording will be there, and I've got a folder Autodesk resources. And in here, I put up a list there, and we'll leave that to Thursday. Some stuff on Forma. We've got Autodesk Building Solutions YouTube. Okay. What I found, anyway, I can't click on that for it to open. I have to click here and copy URL, and then I'll be opening up here and popping that in there. And then whatever way it's working with this SharePoint, I get this. Okay. But there's really good resources in here, okay, for utilizing and using Revit, okay. and ACC and any other bits of software. So they were looking at Collaborate Pro workflows. Okay, so that type of information's up there. Okay. We have Insights plugins. So you should download these and install them. So you got them into your Revit 24. Okay. And we bring Revit 24 open over. These will appear once you've installed them along here. And we'll get the carbon insights as well. Okay. And that's the stuff there. And hopefully with some formula that we'll be doing on Thursday with Tom. Okay. So it'd be worthwhile having them installed and maybe having a model. And if you can try and follow what Tom's doing, it would be good. Okay. And I have the ACC Revit collaboration. Okay. So I've got a few documents in here. Okay. This first one's Autodesk World Skills digital construction videos. So if anybody's not aware, we have an international competition called World Skills. Absolutely huge, and digital construction is one of the skills. And the Autodesk created a whole series of videos, right, for learning for it. So you see they're going right through lots and lots of elements in Revit and what to do. Okay. Now they might be a couple of years old now, but they're still very relevant to what's there and what we're doing. And you'll get down in this area for some of the stuff we're looking at in this class. Okay, so that's those Learn 2s there from them. Another one then would be, I'll skip BIM Corner at the minute and I'll hop over into this one there, which is the Learn ACC. So again, lots of information and videos in here for ACC. So you see there, you've got courses, webinars. You can click on the courses, okay, and a whole series of courses there on different elements of ACC. Okay, so excellent resource there. And then the other one then we've got is managing projects using Revit, which is essentially what we are going to be doing now. So this course basically goes through what we're doing in this class. Okay, getting started, linking files. Okay, phasing, well, we'll be doing much phasing in it, but collaboration. Okay, and then you've got things like interference checker and warnings. Okay, excellent courses, good things to be having there, and free access for us. Okay, as students and educators. Okay, that's them. And then you'll see I've got some documents in here. I've got set to Autodesk BIM 360, browser setup, and setting up collaboration. Okay, so looking at them, there's the link to that course we just looked at, and then here's another load of videos that I found on YouTube. Okay, so again, this is all coming through a lot of the work, what we're going to be doing today. Okay, setting up projects, looking at the Revit models, bringing them up to A3, well, up to ACC. Okay, creating and consuming packages and design collaboration. Okay, we can look at the work sharing briefly there because we're going to be important on the project and managing the models. Okay, so handy documents and then a couple of PDF documents. Just sort of put it up there. We have the browser setup. So this is a way that we would set up a browser so that we can create, it's probably not on this one actually. No, but what we do is we create in here a view type, and then we can set projects up using that view type. So whether it's existing, proposed, demolition, planning, fire set, working, we can set them up that way. So it's again, useful wee document to work through. Okay, and gives you a handy wee bit on your browser setup. And then this document is essentially what we're going to be working through today. Okay, again, it's 2021. I can see here on the files, right? So things might be slightly different. Okay, but more or less the gist is the same. Setting up the browser, okay, coordinating up to the cloud and bringing us through and having a look through that, and we'll work our way down, and we should get down into, okay, they're setting up our sets, and we should see in here, I thought I had it in there. There you go. Design collaboration. I'm working through design collaboration. Okay, so I'm going to work through that today. Okay, so it might be handy if you're downloading that document just now from Teams, and you could have a look at it there as we're going along. Close them all. Okay, so what I'm going to look at first here is just an overview of what we're doing. Okay, we're working our project through on ISO 19650, which is an international standard for working in digital construction. I know not everybody might be using it. Irrespective of that, when we're in any type of construction project or any project, we need to manage the process and manage the data. As long as everybody's working to the same standards, then we've got a standard. If we're working to different standards, well, then we've got no standard. So the key parts here, what we're looking at is file setup and naming. Okay, and this links up there on the Teams, and this is quite a handy explanation of the CDE, the Common Data Environment. Okay, whether it's using ACC or a Deluxe version or any other version, the processes and the outcomes are the same. Okay, so we've got a definition of Common Data Environment, right, which is an agreed source of information for any given project or asset for collecting, managing, and disseminating each information container through managed process. Okay, I suppose one thing I should say as well here at the very start on BIM or building information modeling or building information management, it's nothing new, right? What it is good practice, good project management. Okay, it's been there with us in many companies for many years, and what happened is processes have caught up, we're gone digital, and all these good practices now are being brought through. Okay, so I want to just scroll on down to what we're going to look at. Okay, what I want to bring up here, right, we've got who's responsible for managing the common data environment, assumptions in the common data environment. Okay, processes, information containers, okay, which will be your files. So some of the language can be a little bit different to what we're used to, but this is the key thing that we're looking at. Okay, and this is the common data environment, and this is what it's about. It's about managing the workflow of information. Okay, and we've got our work in progress areas for task teams. These would be each individual company. Okay, and then we've got a check and approve process. We've got a shared area where we're going to share information. Then we have review and authorize, and then into published. Okay, and then you've got archived, which is a journal area for all the information to as you move things forward. Okay, so that's our basic flow. Okay, now if I hop over onto ACC, okay, what I've got set up on ACC for us is docs, design collaboration, model coordination, build, and insight. Okay, these are different elements in it. Okay, design collaboration is an element, is part of the set where we take our projects and we share it with the rest of the team. And model coordination is where we do our clash analysis. Okay, now the we've got build, which is there for when we're working on the site. That is us in the site, and insight gives us an overview. There's a few other extra ones in there that I haven't switched on for this project. Okay, this is our file structure that we're looking at. Okay, so you might see something like this from your team members. I think most teams are set up now, and we're looking here on 01 architects, and we've got 0101 WIP_A. So WIP stands for work in progress. And we'd be working on this project slightly different than you would in the real world, because you can see all the projects, all the WIP areas, right? Ordinarily, if I was working in an architectural practice, I wouldn't see the structural engineer or the MEP's work companies work in progress areas. Okay, it's important, right, when we to identify these. Certainly, the way I would work there, using naming conventions. Okay, that I use the role identifier. Okay, because when we later on we get down into design collaboration, if it only says WIP, we don't know which one we're dealing with. So at least if we've got the underscore A, underscore S, underscore M, we know which discipline we're dealing with. Okay, so there's our areas there. We've got shared areas, right? And I've already set up 2 shared areas. I've got one for coordination and one for bound models. Okay, for this project, when we're going to link into the site models, we want the architectural and the structural models to be bound. So it's one model that we're linking in from each group. And then we've got a published area. Okay. And you see now we've got Revit, and I open that up again. We have a site. So every group will be putting in a copy of their bound model from here into the site. Okay. I have this site now bridged. Now I'll just hop over here and let you see how the plan is here. 11. So in here, all groups I've got their from their published areas. These are linked in, so they're direct copies. So if I go into 12, I might have it in there already. There you go. There's me testing it with number 12. Okay, that is a refresh copy coming automatically from each group's folder. What that means is when we have the site, the master site team creating the model for the site, they can link in each model from these files. Okay, so that we'll be able to, as we're developing the project. So, for instance, if we had a data drop of the bound model, let's say on a Tuesday evening, then it gives then on the Wednesday, or we might do it earlier than that, but you know, we can have a look at a few dates for that, that we will then, the site team will be able to then put together the site model, work and agree where things are going. And as you develop your towers and you put them into that folder, it will automatically populate the site model. Okay. So that's the process we're looking at. I'll go back to my sample. Anybody, any questions? No? Okay. So what does that do? I'm going to just do a little stop sharing for a minute. I'm going to share this. Right. So now what we're seeing here is that diagram of the common data environment. Okay. So what we have, okay, is each of these work in progress areas, right? So we've got task team, task team. So that's going to be WIP A, WIP S, WIP M. Let me just adjust that. Okay, so that's where WIP areas. Okay, that's where work in progress. That's the individual companies, right? And it's really important that in these areas, that is the only place you edit models. Okay, nowhere else. Right, that's where the editing takes place. Okay, now we hop over to move it from work in progress into the shared folder, all right, and make it available for everybody else. This process here, this check and review press process, that is effectively the design collaboration. Okay, that is that part of ACC. We're going to work through that. Okay, and that will push a copy of the model, right, into our coordination space. Coordination. I've hurt my finger, so my writing's worse than usual. Right, coordination space. Right, and also into the consumed folders of who consumes it. Okay, we'll come to that when we do design collaboration. Okay, so that is our shared space, and we can identify that, right? So I have that. I would be identifying that as shared for coordination, for instance. So shared, right, and that would be my coordination. Okay, and then following that, then we will be looking at bringing that through, and that's our published area. Okay, so this is, let's say, published would be putting out there, let's say, for the public, right, and greater team, and in here, okay, that is for the team. Okay, and you can have different levels and different elements of that sharing. Archived is going to be an audit trail of work that you've done. So really what I wanted to do with that diagram was to link the ISO 18650 document with what we're doing in ACC, and hopefully that will help you understand the processes. Okay, because what we're going to do is we're going to in Revit, we're going to collaborate with the cloud, and then we're going to work with our Revit models from this work in progress area. Okay, as soon as we've cloud shared it, then you won't work off your desktop anymore. You'll work from the cloud. Okay, in order to get a copy for your teammates, let's say you need the structural model, they would then go through design collaboration process, and then you'll consume it, and that's an automatic process that gets tracked. So therefore a copy will go into the coordination space, right, and then the consume folders, and then from that coordination space, okay, so if I go coordination space in there, right, effectively that is what we would do our model coordination in. Coordination, right, which is our clashing. Okay, so that's how everything links together. Okay, so where do we start? Okay, I'll swap over and share again. Okay, and so we're going to start in Revit. Okay, now I've already prepped these models, right? But one of the key things when we're prepping, okay, is we've got to think about what's happening to the model afterwards. We don't just upload a model into the cloud. We've got to think about what it's being used for. Okay, so your teams will all have been producing a document like this. Okay, and this document is going to go through a number of things, right? But this is one of the first steps, your Revit published sets. Okay, so a published set is the views that you've got in Revit associated to your model that you want to be able to see in ACC. Okay, and you'll see in there I've got, for instance, the architectural model. It's called 3D Cord A as a view, and I've got a set with the same name, and that's a 3D view with no other models linked in. Okay, so for instance, if you've got a federated model and you're in the default 3D view, you'll probably have the federated models in there, the MEP and the structure, right? If we uploaded that into ACC and went to do model coordination, well, you're going to have a model with two other models in it, and then if you're trying to clash that with a structural model, you've already got structural in your architectural model. So you get problems, right? You get way too many clashes, okay? So we split it up, Okay, and then we can split it up as many times as we want. Okay, so the structural one, for instance, we have a coordinated one, then one just with concrete and one just with steel. So it all depends on who's going to be viewing it. So maybe the steel manufacturer only wants to see your steel work. Okay, if you're sharing there, we've got MEP, and that can be broken up again, as you see it there, and an electrical model. Okay, so some things might be combined, some things might be separate. But we have a plan, and that's the thing. We plan out what we're going to do. Okay, on this document, we've got some work sets. Now these might change. You might change your work sets to however you want to use them. Okay, we've got our file naming. So this is going to go through the file naming for you. Okay, which is really important that you follow this naming convention. You'll be getting, each team's got their own unique set here, right? Where your originators will have your initials and your groups will be functional breakdown. Okay. And then we've got suitability and revision codes. Okay. So then they'll come about. Okay. If I hop back over into here and I do, let's say G08. There you go. So you'll see, so this is group 8's project. It's all set up there, but every file has got a little star with a tick. And that means that it has got naming conventions applied to it, enforced. So when you load a file, it will only accept the file if the naming convention is correct. Okay, so we'll come along to settings, naming standards is in here, and you'll see there, we're calling it North Keys Quarter because we've had North Keys project before, and it felt all right. So you see, if I go into here, we should be able to see an originator, all the group's names, right? So that will be your codes, okay? Oh, I don't want to, I'm going to come out of that. I don't want to mess that up on them, but that is what we're going to see, right? So everybody can go in there, and it's important notice that's loading up any files yet, because we want to make sure it gets set up on Revit 2024. Okay, so I think all these projects are blank at the minute. Okay, so we're getting the structure set up before we start throwing in lots of models. But you'll see along here, what happens is when we do put a model in, right, if I come along, I'm going to open up another project so that you see. I did a little sample on this the other day for the class using second year's project. All right, so you're seeing here, the convention is an ISO 19650 that we don't have any names. There's no underscore and a name at the end. That was an old BS 1182 convention. So that's gone. Because we're dealing with common data environments, we can put the description in here manually, right? But the rest of this metadata, as you can see, matches up with the name. Okay. ARC GC 02 ZZ M3S, right? And it's coming in there. So there's the project. So Art for Art Labs, originators myself, right? It's phase 2 in this project. Multiple levels. It's a 3D model and it's structural, and there's its number, right? And then we also go along and we have got a status code, okay, and the revision. And you'll see, you'll pick up this information in this document. Okay, so it's a case of just looking at the file that you've got, reading it along and seeing where it's going to fit, what fits into what element. Okay, and then we've got classification. So that's based on Uniclass. Okay, now you can click on that and you get a download. You can go and pick whatever you want. I find it much easier to go along into Uniclass and just go into the MBS, find a code, and I can type in there. Okay, and you know, if I've got model, I can type in model, and it'll give me some options of different types of models to give a code. And image might be one that you do. And what I found quite useful as well, when you go in this way, you're going to find what you're looking for. So there's image, click on that, and you get other elements in this category. So you might have an animation file. So there's the code for animation file. You might have sketches, schematics, visualizations. So that's where you can pick up these codes. Okay. And it's all part of the overall ISO data management process. Okay. I suppose it's once we follow it, it's as easy to do it than not do it. And it means we don't get files with copy, final copy. This is the last one, type a name on them. Okay. So we're always managed. We have to name, even before we had these systems, all projects had naming conventions. Okay. And this one, when you get used to it, you start to be able to read it and understand where the elements are coming from. Okay. So getting your model prepped, right, before putting it up into the cloud. So I've got here architectural model, and if I go up to manage and manage links, you see I've got 3 models linked into it. Okay, I don't want them all coming through up onto my ACC project. If I went straight away and went up to collaborate and collaborate to the cloud, okay, it would take the default. Okay, I don't want to do that. Up here, you'll see publish settings. In here is where you can create your selection sets and what is included in each one. So there's one for 3D views, there's one for sheets, there's one for ground, and there's one for coordination. Okay, so what I've done there, okay, and you'll see my 3 views here. Okay, so I'm in the default 3D view. Okay, my 3D coordination is that one. Okay, I don't know yet, and you'll see there I create a view template. Okay, so it's all worthwhile doing these things, view templates for them, and it means then I can apply it to the view I need. So that is my architectural only model, the full model. Okay. Right, what you see as well is I've got separate into ground. So there's a first floor and a ground floor for it. Okay. Now I would have done this before ACC gave you the ability in model coordination to separate things by floors, but it still can be quite a useful element to have. You know, if you've got big buildings, to split it up, and you can split them up all kinds of ways. Okay, a really simple way to get that slice right without turning on the section box. Right, if you go back up to 3D view, right, and you know you're never going to find it unless you know to look there. But click to here, and you can click down, orientate to view, floor plan, and then I can pick my plan. So I'm going to say lower, well, I'll say second floor. And there we go. And now we've got our slice. And it's a case of hiding that element. And that's it. And it cuts the slice based on the view range. So you might want to set your view range up to show particular build-ups you want, whether you want to be seeing below and above a floor, if you've got plenums and suspended services, or whichever way it suits you in the project. But that's a quite a handy way to get that 3D quickly. Just go back. Okay, so I've already done that. I've got my 3 views, right? And I've gone up into publish settings and I've created a new view there, and I've called it 3D underscore core day, following the my instructions and the execution plan schedules, and added my 3 views in. Okay, so that's that one done. So that means that when I publish, it will be those 3 views that go. Okay, just so again, whatever ticked here is what will be sent up to ACC. Okay, and we do that, we go collaborate. I just remember which project I'm in. Not that one. It is Simple in here. So I'm going to push this model up into my work in progress area. I'll do the same for structure and I'll do the same for MEP. Okay, I've got them all set up. I didn't do any pre because I wanted to run through the process a few times just to demonstrate it and hopefully help it catch. So we'll come along, collaborate. Okay, might make it easier on myself, and I'll just take one of my review, and I'm going to go to collaborate. Continue. Okay, we're not in the network, we're in the cloud. And then okay. So now we're connecting from Revit up into ACC. So I've got to find my project. Just sample, and it will only show me, because I'm in Revit 2024, it will only show me Revit 24 projects. As soon as you put a Revit file up into ACC, it will stick it to that version. Now you can do a group update. Okay. And work in progress A, and I'm going to save that there. Okay. So one of the things that happens is as soon as we cloud share it, you're going to create work sharing. And for anyone that's used Revit or some other bits of software that has layers, okay. So I've just been using Sketchbook Pro for that markups I was doing that has layers as well. Work sets are a bit like layers. You can turn them on or off, but also what we can do is we can lock them so that only one person's using them, and that's going to be something that should be looked at and utilized to help you work when somebody wants to be working on the ground floor and somebody wants to be working on the penthouse. Then you can lock out those areas. Okay. I didn't account for this being slower now that I've got the video going. Because it's not a big model. I'll turn my camera off for a minute. So is there any questions whilst this is going through its process? No? Okay. So that's that done. Okay. So I'm going to come out of that now. Okay, so it's been pushed up to the cloud. What we'll do before I come out of it, we'll have a look in here in WIP A. There is our model, right? And we're up there, and we've got this little symbol saying it's cloud shared. And for whatever reason, it always starts at version 2. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to close that. Okay, and now you can see on the screen we've got the same file, but this one has got like a little box and a cloud on it. So that one's cloud worksheet. And if we look at the saved path, you can see it's taken us up into the cloud or this docs, and this one there is coming off my C drive. Okay, so that's one we're going to work with. Okay, I'm going to do the same for the structural model. Structural model. Okay, and we should see there, I have them all set up as well. Somewhere in here, I'll just check in my collaborate, published. There we go. I've got the one structural one saved there. Okay. So close that, and then up here to collaborate into the cloud. Okay, and this time, because it's a structural model, fortunately, it doesn't stick. Yes, and there we go. Getting there. Okay. And if I hop over in there, we'll see that one coming through as well. That'll change over there in a second into version 2. There you go. Okay, and pop back open it around it. Close. Okay, and you see there, same thing. And then we'll do the mechanical model. Okay, and as you see, I've got a few ones in there, 3D cord, pipe, and the electrical ones. Okay, so just check that again, collaborate, see what I've got set up there and published. There we go. So I'm going to collaborate. Okay, so that's popping us up into the cloud. Okay, now what I would normally do on a project, and I've got my models, before putting them up into the cloud, I would link them and get them coordinated. Okay, and then when you push them up in the cloud, you can just go and redo the links again. Okay, what I found is if you don't do the linking before you put it up, you only get the option. I think it's to acquire coordinates. Right, you don't get the option to publish coordinates when you're doing shared coordinates. It's the trouble with live demos, eh? Recorded and edit out the big pause. So while that's doing that, that's going to be coming up into here. Okay. Once it's in here, right, we're going to start opening them up from Revit again. We're going to link them together. Okay. Once we have them, well, yeah. Actually, we'll leave the link until later because I know they're linked in the right places. Okay. What we're going to do, we're going to collaborate them. Okay, so that's our model in there, and that's going to jump into version 2. Okay, close that. So come out of that. Now, it's really important now that everybody works up the cloud models. Okay, and you see there's the cloud models. Okay, but if I have to work these, open these there, they're going to work from a cache that's on my computer, right? It's always better, I feel, so just so we don't lose anything, that we keep downloading fresh copies. So across here, we've got a link to Autodesk Docs. And again, this will only show you projects that are in Revit 24 because that's the version we're using. Okay. And we find our project. Okay. And in here, we should
Gordon?
have.
Gordon?
Yes.
Oh, okay, it just came now.
That's all right.
It was
It was frozen.
it was frozen. Yeah, yeah, exactly.
You okay?
Yeah, if you could repeat the last 20 seconds because we didn't saw where you were. It was frozen on the synchronization in Revit.
Okay. So
Yeah.
in here.
Yeah.
So it's important there now, right? We can see there's our cloud share model, right? And our desktop models and our cloud shared. If I open up a cloud share model from this part of recent files, it's going to bring it from a cache file hidden away on my desktop. Okay. So it's important there that we use the Autodesk Docs there, and that's going to bring us into exactly our ACC projects, right? And we'll open them from here. It's really important as well. You see this green tick? It means the latest is published. Okay. That might sometimes be blue circle with a white arrow pointing up. Now that means that there's an update available. When you save, right? Okay. And maybe what I'll do is I'll open up this project. Right. So when I open it from there, you see you get this dialog. So it's different to normal. That's it bringing a fresh copy down from the cloud. Okay. Now, right. So let's say I've done something there and I deleted it and then I've undeleted it, right? And I want to save, right? That save is going to save just locally. What we want to be looking at is we've got synchronize and modify settings or synchronize now. This then synchronizes with the cloud, okay? And that will mean that the model on ACC is the updated version, but it is not the one that you see. You can synchronize with the cloud, go to ACC, and when you open the model in ACC, it will not be the view that you see, okay? All right. Sometimes if you've done a lot of work, I like to use synchronize and modify settings because then I can put a comment in here, right? And I could put down here, major update to west facade, right? So then anybody looking back at notes, you can see that there's some information gone in there, okay? Now that's syncing back with the cloud. So if you remember, that's kind of how it looked when we did our first initial load. Okay, so save to local, right? And it's saved up to central. So that central is up in ACC. It's in the background. Okay. And then if I close that, right, that's still got a green tick, right? This element there is what we want to be able to make sure that is green so that when we come into ACC and we click on the model, we see the latest model. Okay, that's what that green tick is about. Okay, so when we go back over to Revit, okay, it's really important that you regularly would just do a refresh. If I refresh there, that should turn blue now. So there's an update available, right? So when you open up the folder, you might see some blue arrows and you'll see who modified it, who it was last published by. Okay. If it's not yourself, you can still come along here to the three dots and publish latest, right? And then that will be the version, the latest version will be the one that is visible on ACC. Okay. That's just the way it works. Okay, so that should then process into a green tick. Okay, if I look then back over onto ACC, you see this is updating, and now we've got version 3. Okay. I should actually left that canopy deleted and done it, and then, but anyway, you get the gist, okay? And that's updating there. And now we've got this really helpful version control. Right, let me stop spinning in a second. If I come out of it, it might get itself back. But we'll see this. I'll show you the version control briefly now when this comes through, and we'll see it again when we look through and design collaboration. It'll be available in a minute. Yeah, it's still uploading. But what you can do, you can come in, you can compare versions, and you get a traffic light. Okay, we don't have anything different in them, but that's how it would work. Okay, so over to Revit, or kind of for the minute, right? Our work in Revit's done because we've got our 3 models up there, right? The structurals there, right? And we've got our MEP model. Okay. Come on. Okay, we'll come back to that, right? But the versions are really helpful to see what's happening between one version and a version and another. Okay, you can do it on drawings as well. So what we're going to do is, if you remember this diagram that we looked at earlier on, okay, so we're now done this process, right? And now what we're going to do, we're going to do this process, which is the design collaboration, okay? And within doing that, as soon as we do that, design collaboration, right? That is going to shift our models, right? What's going to happen? 2 things are going to happen. One, I share the architectural model, and as a structural engineer, I then consume that model. I will get in here a folder called consumed, and the architectural model will be in there. And the same thing will happen for MEP, okay? And then that is where you link your models in from. We're looking at an automated process. So as soon as the architect publishes a model up on design collaboration, and me as the engineer consumes it, I get a folder with consumed, and if I link from there, link that model into my structural model, then anytime I consume the architect's model, updated models that I'm happy with, I will have the latest version in my models. So it's reducing the risk of working off old information. The second thing that will happen is I'm going to set it up so that it places a copy into my shared coordination folder. And that coordination folder will be the folder that is used for model coordination. So that one process is going to place automatically a copy of that model where I need it to do further work without me manually copying anything and keeping track. It means that always the latest model will be in the place where I need it. Okay, so there we go, version 3. Let's have a look at so compare versions 1, 2, and compare, and you get the views, and you can pick the views that you want. Right, there's not going to be no difference in these, but it just lets you see what it looks like. Okay, and you get this traffic light system, and it shows you in green what has been added, red what's been removed, and yellow what's been modified, and you can dip into, you can really interrogate that model then for further information and see what's happening. And you can do it on the drawings as well. So hope I'm not going too fast. So let's have a look now then where we're going to move to, which is design collaboration. So as soon as we go into design collaboration, It's going to ask us a few questions. Okay. And I want to go into settings. So it's not initiated yet, right? So I can go to complete project setup, or I can go into settings. So I can come in here, complete project setup, which brings us to settings anyway. Okay, and get started. Okay, so shared folder, it does an automatic on a shared folder. Okay, right, but I'm going to select my folder, right, and I want it to be my coordination one here. So that is going to be my shared folder that I want to do for this process. Okay, you can have other shared folders. Okay, and I go into next. Right, once that's done, we can't change it. I'm just reading to make sure I put it in the right place. Right, and then I've got teams, right? So team setup, I can select existing folders. So these are the teams that are going to be involved in doing the coordination. And I want that to be my WIP A. So add a team. And I want it to be my WIP S. Okay. So you can see why I've got the A and the S and the M on there, so I can see them. Now you can go in and edit the names and change the name here, okay? But I like to see where it's coming from. So I've got the code here, I can see where it's coming from. Okay, and I go next. Coordination. So I'm going to make this shared folder my coordination space. Okay, and you see there it's going to automatic clash detection. So any model that goes in there will be clashed against any other model. We will not make coordination spaces here, just this one. Okay, and next. And the main model, we're not going to pick a main model for this. Tries just levels and phasing. Okay, we could pick the architecture one there, but I don't have one there. Okay, so that's that. Get rid of that. Okay, so I'm going to go back up to home. Right, and I should. This is what we've got, the swim lanes. Click that down twice. And there is our project. So there's the architectural one. This is the base model that's in there. See, it says version 3 that we just updated. There is, and I can click that arrow and it will give us, there's the model. There is our mechanical model, version 2, and our structural model. And I just go back there and there's the architectural one. Okay, so the next process, right? We're now in design collaboration. We've got that space set up. Is we want to start sharing our projects, sharing our models. Okay, so let's had a look or something. There's a really handy, it comes, Autodesk has, Design Collaboration's got lots of little icons, and there is a really useful Autodesk, there you go, it's timeline symbols, is it? There you go, okay. Has these symbols, right, and they all mean something, okay. So the squares is our models that were in the project, okay. What I'm going to do here now is to start collaborating with my colleagues, right? I've got to come along here as I'm going to work as the architect at the minute. I'm going to come along here, I'm going to create a package. So this now heads down into heads us down into the package creation. So it's given us a name for it there, okay? Right, and it tells us what do we want to include in the package, right? So we can see there, I'm going to take them, right? And that's automatically taking the model because that's everything that's there, okay? I can go save. I can change the name up here, right? Pretty sure I can change it as soon as I hit save, right? So I'm going to hit save. It's going to start creating this package. Where did it go? Right. Okay, I'm going to change this up here now. What I want to do for this name, again, it comes back to what we're looking at here, right? So we've got naming fields. So what we've got is we've got role codes, right? So we've got our roles, architect, engineers, whatever, structural engineers, mechanical, right? And then we also have a suitability code and a revision code, okay? So what I would do is I'm creating a package, right? So we've got these naming conventions. So let's use them instead of coming up with, you know, new ways of coding it. Use the codes that we have. Okay. So I'm going to give this a name, right? So it's architects in it. So it's architecture, right? Underscore, and then my suitability code, right? This is going to be suitable for coordination. So it's S1, right? And then if I come along here, if I click on that S1, so with coordination, it's going to be, the vision code is going to be P01 because it's the first one. Okay, so that is A S1 underscore P01. Okay, so that is that package. Okay, if I go to share, this, I knew I could change the name. There you go. Right, and then I'm just going to call that initial issue. Okay. Okay, so that's going to push that there, and you'll see there the package contains one model and one set. I could have multiple sets in there. I could have a set of drawings in there if I wanted, for instance. It would be typical. Okay, so now when we come down, what we're going to see is a solid circle for my swim lane. That means I've created a package. Get the information there. If I come up here to mechanical, well, there is a circle on the architects and it's empty. So what I'm going to do here now, this is what they call consuming. I'm going to click on that and I can see there I've got one set and one model, right? I can have a look at this if I want, right? And I can compare it against the previous version. I've no previous version in this, but that compare tool is just like that version checker that we looked at, version comparing. You can come into your sets and your models and any documents that you've uploaded with it. If I'm happy with it, right, I can consume it, right? So that's just before we go any further. If we hop, oh, yeah, I'll consume it, right? So I will consume that. Okay, and that is there now. So now when I look at the swim lanes, okay, I'm still under the mechanical contractor, but I can see that is now solid. Okay, that means I've consumed it and it tells us there consumed on the 24th of the 10th, right? Look at structure and it's not been consumed. Okay, so how does that look when we come into docs? Okay, so the first thing there would be shared, and now we've got our coordination, right? There's our 3 WIP folders, and there's that model that we shared. Okay, so they were all created automatically by ACC. That was placed there automatically by ACC. And if I come over there, it was MEP subcontractor into their WIP area. They have now got a consumed folder, and in there you'll see WIP A and the model. Okay, all done automatically. We're going to the structural one. Whip S. We've got a consumed folder, but nothing in it. Okay, so there's nothing in that consumed folder. Okay, because we haven't consumed anything yet. But this is all automatically set up. So let's hop back over design collaboration. And hop back in here and let's go into the as being the structural, and we'll just do the same process and come in here. That's our set. Okay. Just check it's got the model. Yeah. So save that. Share, and it's going to be, well, it's going to be S because it's structural. S1 E01. Okay, and initial issue. Okay, click that down there. So, well, I can consume that whilst I'm at it. Consume that. So mechanical. See that went up there. With A. So that. And that. Okay, so I'm consuming that. So the last one I got to do is the mechanical. And so I'll create a package here. That's going to be mechanical underscore S1 underscore B01. Okay. Initial issue. With my package created, hop in there as the engineer, consume it. As the architect. Now, Northern Ireland, you wouldn't see all these swim lanes because you'd be working in your individual companies, but we've got it set up so everybody can see everything and see all the processes. Okay, and then consume. So that should be everybody in and consumed everybody's work. Okay, so go back to docs. Got architecture. Right, whip A, and we've got the two consumed folders in here. And it's the same for the others. Okay, so they're all there. Okay, so that's us now. Switch back over here. Okay, what we've done is we've gone through this process, and you see it's called check, review, approve. Okay, because that's, you've seen that in the process there. You checked it. If you're happy with the model, then you can accept it. That has now brought us into our shared space, right? So this is us now in our environment where we're working with our, collaborating with our colleagues. Okay, so what we want to do, we've now got the latest versions in these consumed folders, and you see they're linked directly to our company, right? So that is where we should be linking. So my architecture model, I should be pointing my link to these folders. Okay, so if I hop back over into here, and let's just go into architecture, and open this up.
Gordon, I think it's frozen again.
Is it?
It's on that diagram screen.
Oh, yeah, that's no frozen. I haven't switched it over. Thanks. Okay, so what I was saying there was we've now got a WIP-A, architecture WIP-A, automatically created a consumed folder with the structural and mechanical models. These, when we open up our Revit model now for architecture, this is where we're going to point our link to, right? Because that's the one we've accepted, right? And it means this process, when you consume a new structural model, it will automatically give you the structural model in your Revit model. So you're always working with the latest information. So I've opened up Revit there, and I've opened up the architectural model. Okay, I'm going to go over onto the default view. Okay, so there's our default view. Right, coming there, we can see some of the stuff going on. But well, manage links. Okay, and you'll see these are all still going on. Okay, that's my furniture one. I haven't put that up yet. So I'm just going to select that and unload it for a minute. Okay, in here, there's my mechanical model, and you see it's still coming from the C drive, right? I'm going to reload from. This is where I cross my fingers, right? And there we go. It's going up into my project, my TVW setup sample project. So it's the mechanical one I'm looking for. So I'm going into my architecture folder, my WIP-A, consumed, mechanical. Now it might seem a lot of folders and that you're going through. The point is, I've not copied or emailed, duplicated anything. I've just gone through a management process that we looked at, that check review process, and it has put the models in the correct place. So now I'm going to open that, and you'll see the saved path will change. Right, nested models won't come through, okay. And now it's the Autodesk docs. And there we go, that's our cloud shared model. So I'll do the same for structure, reload from. Okay, and then you can see the importance here now again, why we strip the model down so there's no links in it. Okay, so there's no links visible in the views, but here we're dealing with the models. Okay, and we're going into what we're looking for now, structure. I'll take that one there and open that. Okay, and then we've got the Autodesk there. Okay, and that is that. That is our models now have been consumed. They're now getting used. I'm going to save that. Right, I'm just getting. I've got into the habit that I would just do a local save and then hit my. I won't do the modify. I'll just do synchronize now. Right, or I could do a synchronize and modify settings and put down linked from ACC. Right. Okay, so that's the process. As you guys are working through, that is the process that you should try and work to and adhere to. Instead of copying files, that you get the right folders at the right time to work from. Whilst I'm in here, what happens is, because we work shared, we now have work sets. And you can set work sets up here. Okay, now I've given, everybody has a document that's got this. Now we've got a lot of work sets in here. You maybe not need all those work sets, right? So this is something there that you might look at with your teams and say, right, what work sets are we going to work to? Okay, and you can set them up and you can put them in here and you can lock them right here, and I'll let you see who's owned something, who's borrowed something. Okay, so quite a useful tool. we'll just leave it on user created. These will just, you know, I've only ever seen it used as user created where you create your own work sets and not using any of the other standards and that there. But that's where we can work in there. All your levels and grids will automatically go onto this shared views, levels and grids, right? Well, you can't delete work set 1, but don't rename it either, right? Keep work set 1, create your new work sets, and then you can use things like filters, or you can just turn visibility on or off. So you can create your new ones, turn them off, and then as you move things from work set 1, you can move them over onto a new work set. So that's as easy as just picking up their properties, and you got work set down there. And once you've got a few work sets in there, you can pick to see which one to go into. Okay, so I'm going to come out of that. I've made changes. It's assuming I've made changes, so because I clicked on that, I want to sync. And then close. And I just, in the habit, clip that. Okay, and this will then up to here and then publish latest. And this then, if you get into the habit of doing that, particularly on this project where you're all working so close together and the time frames all very tight amongst who's doing what work, if you always get into that habit, it's always going to be the latest up there. Okay, so any questions there? No.
Yeah,
You got a question?
yeah, that's Francis. I'm
Right.
just wondering, in terms of, previous workshops, thinking about the students getting as far as this, should we be letting them know that ideally they should be leaving time for doing this, maybe on the Wednesday?
No, they do this continually throughout the process.
Or so they're going to do it with all the
From-
different versions, right? Okay,
From the very start.
okay,
Yeah, from the very first models. Because once it's set up, so the ABT3 students and our ABT4s have done this process and worked through it there. So all the projects are set up there. And what I would suggest is that the first thing that they would do is create an architectural model, a structural model, and an MEP model, and start the grids at A1 on the internal origin. And then they can create them, and basically, that's as much you need to get started, and then get the models all shared up. So then when you start working in them, they start all following through this process.
so they're using it as a design development tool throughout.
Yeah, that's exactly
Yeah,
what it's designed. That's exactly what it's for.
Yeah, great.
Okay, so the second part then is that we automatically had our models popping into here, into this coordination space. Okay, and what that does is we come along up here now to design, to model coordination. And it's loading in the models, right? And what it's doing is clashing all the models together. So that's all our models, right? Right. I can pick models I want to clash, or I can come here to this clash matrix. And the clash matrix shows us, right? We should be clashing architecture against architecture, right? But you see how now we're clashing the different views that I'd set up. So there's first floor clashing with something. So first floor coming along there. So that's really useful. So now we can just go and look at the first floor if I wanted to, or if I wanted to look at the, let's say mechanical, all the mechanical with all the structure. So there's mechanical. That's architecture, 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 probably that one. There you go. So structural model. So if I open that up, now what we've got, so I haven't had to copy any models or do anything, just by that process of going through that design check approve process. I now have my latest models in there for doing some clash analysis. Okay, and you'll see there that the structure is green and the mechanical is red. Okay, and I can come along and I can look in and I can pick these clashes, right? So I can come and create issues if I want. So that's an issue there, right? Right, comes up there. So I've got 98 clashes in here, but I want to pick that particular one. So let's pick that one and it'll spin out to where that clash is. Pick this one. Sometimes it's going to be hard to see where they're looking at. You can see the elbow on it. And there are light switches, oval duct. There we go. One we can see, right? So we've got an oval duct here, right? Clashing. Okay. So there's that clash. There was a mechanism there, and I've forgotten the button. But I can pick another one that's in the same line because I can see that same duct line is all going to clash together. That one. So we've got the two of them there now. Just do it that way. So I've got the two of them there. So I could create a clash, right? Create an issue. Right, I'm going to click the position. Might still have that one picked, but it doesn't matter. Pick that. And it's going to create an issue. So, you know, this is a handy way for you guys to look at your projects. You've got structural modeling going on, architectural modeling going on, mechanical modeling. It'd be good to go through and try these processes. This is the whole thing that we're doing in Trivarsity, is exposing you to, you know, the processes that we do on building information modeling and management. Okay, so give this stuff a go. Okay, use it to talk and discuss with each other, even though you might just be across the table. So it's given us there our clashes, right? Assign to, so I can click on that. At the minute it's just myself, but you might be assessing it to Joe Bloggs there, who's doing mechanical, right? That location, don't worry about that. You have to set up locations specifically in ACC, but you can put in location details. You can say roof area, for instance, and then the due date when you want it back for. So you might want it back for the 27th, and the start date is going to be today. And you get an image, right? And you can add a comment in, you know, please fix this, right? And then you can submit it. Okay. And now if I come out of this, right, well, I should be able to come. You see the clashes have dropped now. It was 5 clashes I'd put in a group. Now I've got 93 clashes. So you can keep working through all the clashes. Some things you might find, right? You might find, and it's not a clash. Okay. So you can say that as well when you go to issue. So I can come in here, I can look at issues now, and I've got issues there, and I can click on that, and that will bring me to the problem, right? To be fixed. I still had that one clicked. Okay, so that's us doing our clashing, right? And then you can resolve it. So I might go back into the model. Okay, so if you think about going back into the diagram, back to the diagram, right? So we've been in here, we found a problem, right? So what we do is we go back into our work in progress. So if that was an issue for the MEP person would come in there, adjust that duct. I would suggest take a screenshot, right? And then when you fix the clash, you can add the screenshot too. So you'd fix the clash, right? Then you go back through this design collaboration process, right, of creating a package, uploading a new one. The structural engineer would then consume that, and they would get in their model the new version, okay? But at the same time, a copy of that model will go into coordination space. So when you run the coordination again, that will not be a clash. And you can come in and you can select this and you can edit that and you can say closed. And you can add a comment and you can add a reference. So you can put an image in up there. Okay. And show it being closed off. And then you've got a record. So that's a record of the processes being done. And that's all we're doing, right? We're keeping track of the changes that are made. Okay. We've always had to do that, right? You guys probably don't know about a fax machine, but we used to have heaps and heaps of faxes lying around everywhere, trying to catch up with what contractors were sending us, okay, to solve issues. Okay. This way, it's all done digitally, it's all in one place, and we can all track and manage it. Okay. So that comes out of there. You can create views if you've got particular views that you want. There's no views created yet, right? But I could, if I wanted to. There's my clash matrix, and I took, let's say, I got my.
Gordon.
Yep.
I don't think you're sharing that screen. You're sharing the sketch.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. So I can come along there. We've got views. So I could create a view if I want to save a particular view. So I've got my structure with some, well, that's the one we just looked at. Take one with a few clashes in it. Electrical and structure there. Not much in here. Right. So there's some electrical light fittings clashing up here, but I can save the view. Model, I think it's up here. Let's search, and there we go, save view, and I can just call that then, what was it? Elec V structure. I can make it private, so I'm just looking at myself, and I can make it public so that everybody can see the view. Okay, so then when I come back up here, I've got some views that I want to work in. So you can create the views so you can go to them quite quickly. Okay, so when we're done then, that's our process. Okay, that's a process that, as I was saying there to Francis' question, run with from the very start. You get this process up and running, then all you're doing is you're going into Revit, you're going to Docs, and you open up your files from here, and you're working in them. And that is you working in your WIP A space. Okay. And then if you made a lot of progress, then you want to start sharing it with the rest of the team and go through that collaboration. Okay. It could be totally brand new to a lot of you. Okay, as I say, you're gonna have at least one person. We should have at least two people in each team that know this process. Okay, and it's the BIM process that we work to. Okay, a lot of companies use this software, or they use. I think you use Dalux in Denmark a lot. They're all the same. You know, it's all about managing and keeping track of what's going on. So that's that, right? Where that's going to lead us, right, is let's say we're in here. I just threw up in here for the crack project, right? So I'll put this in. This is my fake G12 project, right? Okay. And if anybody recognizes it when it loads up. Anybody recognize it? I think it's the one that won last year. I might be wrong, but I think it is that one when we were over in ICEP. So I've got that model there, right? What I've done, and what I did with the ABT3 class today, is we've set this up. So one of the problems you've got is you've all got your own individual projects, right? And a handy tool that came in, right, a couple of years ago now, was Bridge. And that allows us to share our models, right, with other projects. Okay. So what you'll be doing is in shared, right? There's our coordination one that we had, right? But I will want you to bind a copy of the model, right? So that's straightforward in here. There's architecture, right? Open this up. By binding, you pull a copy of that model into your model. So I'm going to bring in the structural model and bind it into here. And that is just going to manage. Now I've got to find it. Modify. No, it's in manage, I think. I hate when I can't find a tool. But anyway. There you go. Anyone to give me a shout out where bind is gone? Oh, there.
Isn't it in insert, maybe?
Insert, okay.
I don't know, actually. I don't remember.
No, that's loading, insert. Maybe I need to select the model. Or maybe if I want to manage. It's just going to attach it so it comes through.
It might be a modify. When you select the link, it should appear on the modify tab, maybe, on the contextual tab.
There you go. Thank you. Yeah. So I've got to select the link first and then bind. Right. And if I hit bind, it's going to ask me to attach the details. We won't bother with the levels and the grids because they're going to be the same. And then click OK. I'm not going to do it now. Right. But that will then make that link a group in your model. Right. So that then you're going to create that and it's going to get put into this location, into shared bound, right? And then just copy it into there. That's all. Because you might need that bound model for another purpose. So we'll just copy it from there into there. Okay. And then it's already been set up on all the groups. I think group 6 still needs to be done. Right. Well, it did this morning, but that's already right. That I come along and I look into G11. Okay, so there's all the bridge groups and G12 is there, and there's that model. Okay. Okay. So I should then be able to, from this master, when I have a model in here, link those in. Okay. So any questions?
Why are the MEP models version 1?
They're because they're ones that have been copied down into through design collaborations.
And is that your shortcut way of getting everybody's models into the master plan model, the master plan site?
Using bridging tool is, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So instead of having to email models and download models and upload models, that way it'll do it automatically.
Brilliant.
So yeah, the question with the MEP models, Francis, is yeah, when you're in here with M, it's version 2, but those models were then using design collaboration pushed into this folder, and then that's where you see it version 1. Okay, and the same in consumed. So for whatever reason, when you first do a cloud share, it ends up being version 2.
Right.
Okay. Any other questions?
Gordon,
Yeah.
it's Jeff. Can you go
I
through?
thought you were
how
gone in 15 minutes, Jeff.
Yeah, I came back.
All right.
Can you go through how you set the bridge up to start with?
Yeah.
Is that possible?
Yeah. Yeah. So the bridge, I'm in here. Right.
You can't see your screen.
Okay. Thank you. So there we are there. So this is the folder I wanted to bridge. Okay. And even though we've got this over there, we don't go there. We go here. Right. So you click on the 3 dots and you actually go to share. And it's actually worth exploring this, because I could do the same thing here. I could take that file, right? And I can go to 3 dots and go to share and share another project. So that's going to give me another project. But you'll see that the automatic sync update target project is grayed out, right? I got to put a title in here. That title will appear over here when we look at bridge. Then you select your project just the same way as we did everything else, right? But if we did it just with a file, it won't automatically update for some reason. It doesn't allow you, okay? Whereas if I take the folder and go to the 3 dots in the folder and go to share and go to project, I can click on the automatic update so that any changes to the model that are in there will automatically sync over into my new project. I can give this a name, right? I can select my project, right? So what was I? I was G11, wasn't I? G11 site, and then select my folder, and I want it to go into this one, bridge groups, and select it. I'm not going to do it because I've already got it done, and that would be it. And then you hit share, and that's the process. And then you come over to bridge, it gives you a list of the bridges that you've got. So that's what that's doing. So it's a bit funny how in one time it calls it bridging, and another part of the process is called share. Okay, but there's that bridge that was set up. I can delete it if I want. I can look at outgoing bridges, right? So there's me doing one earlier on, and an incoming bridge. Okay. So if I go to G11, for instance, in here, and I look at the bridges, there's all the bridges that have been set up. Outgoing, there's none, but incoming, that's all the bridges coming in. Okay. You see there, some of the names weren't totally right to start with, so they changed them. Yeah.
So are you gonna do this, or does each group have to do it?
Each group will do it.
Right, okay.
Yeah, but it's already set up. That's the thing. As soon as you put a model into the folder, right? So there is, for instance, you know, we've got master site there on G12. Oh, that's my one, right? We've got G3 there, right? So if we go into G3, go into G3, and published, and Revit models, G3. Their folder's already set up. So as soon as a model appears in here, that will appear in the G11 site modeling project. Okay, what I'll do is I'll just show you how that works. If I go into my, those are bringing it in from my sample. Right, and published, and there. So I've got a model in there. If I go and grab a model, and let's me just throw in, I'm going to throw in that, I'll throw the furniture one in, right?
So Gordon, whilst that's loading up,
Yeah. Yeah.
You're still going to have to link those models into the site model then. It's just that the data will be coming from the constantly
So in the site,
updated.
in the bridge, for instance, there, let's say that's, you know, group 12 uploaded a model, another model, right? So that's going to process into here, right? We'll wait till it appears. But yeah, so the idea being there that we've got group 11, right, which is, you know, taking one person or one or two people from each group working to get that coordinated site model made, so that each of the 10 groups are making their towers, but then one or two people, probably one person, because they don't want 20 people in there, but somebody from each group working as group 11, coordinating with their own team, doing a master plan, locating their towers where they want to go, looking at the design of the towers and how they connect to each other. So, you know, I think something really interesting to think about is that new bridge that's been built. It will be 5 meters above the quay level when it gets over there. So how are you going to tie that into your development? Okay, are you going to create an upper level park area or have it sweeping down whatever way? Also, you've got a big linear area, a big linear development, and very tall buildings for Ireland anyway. And so, is there an option to create? I think you've got that over in, don't you, in Sheffield, Jeff, where that wall, and you got a street in the air, don't you? I'm trying to remember the name of that development at the other side of the train station.
Yeah, Park Hill.
Yes. Yeah. So had that modernist idea of a street in the air. Could you connect the buildings somehow, or, you know, look at how that might work, you know, instead of coming all the way down to go along the road and back up again if you might need be. Is that something that might be of interest, you know? Again, that's something to discuss and look at, and look at the profiles. I'm going to turn my camera off again, in case that seems to be slowing it up. That's still processing. So yeah, exactly right. So this will come in here. Let's see if I can press that, push it on. There we go. Okay. So okay. So they're synced and updated automatically, right? So that's given us a wee indicator that it's bridged. Okay. And we go up into G11 and site. Right, and now if we go down in here and look at my group 12, I've now updated that model's coming in here. Okay, and we've got that indicator that is bridged. Okay, and I go to bridges there. And G12 and just see what it says, anything in different. Oh, yeah, that's his bridging through the sample. So there's only one person in there, that's me. Okay, on active automations. Okay, so back to files. So the idea being there, I've got in the resources. Actually, I can run through these models I've put up in resources, right? So I've got two SketchUp models, right? Right, both are Waterford City. I think one's bigger than the other, so the other one might have this bit cut off it because we don't need it, right? But I put them both up. What we find is we've got our site is along here. Okay, we've got the hotel up the top of the hill here. This is the quays. This is our granary building where we are going to be located. Okay, but you see, okay, this is actually reading the SketchUp model better than Revit does, right? But we can't delete anything in here, right? But what I think we want to be doing is, you'll see it coming up in a minute. I'm going to bring it up here. Right, so there's those SketchUp models. Right, I've got the CAD. Right, so we've got some OS maps, survey maps, and then we've got Revit files, and I've got the transport hub. Okay, so I'll just open the transport hub up briefly here. This is the new train station that's getting built. I think I went through this the other day, didn't I? Seem to remember.
Yep, you did.
Yeah. Ah, okay. So these all get linked together. I think when you look at that SketchUp model, right, the main model in there is the master. Now I left underscore names on these because these are old files, and there weren't there was so many of them. I left them on. Why am I not seeing the rest of me Revit on it? It'd be time, but anyway, I'll open it from here. So when you're coming out, you want to do this: relinquish elements and work sets. If you do keep, then other people won't be able to work in those work sets. Oh, handy reminder there. Okay. So I'll go to recent. And okay. So this master model, I've set it up with proper coordinates. Okay, but this there, you'll see, this is actually a Revit model linked in, right? But that Revit model has the SketchUp model linked into it. Okay. The issue being is that this one's all set up with the coordinates. Okay. So 0, 0 down here, away down in the southwest of Ireland. So we've got our coordinates and we've got project base point set up here. Okay, at a temporary benchmark, a benchmark on one of the buildings. Okay, so it's all set up there. There's a lot going on there. Okay, but when we look at 3D, you see the city is much. We've got roofs, so that SketchUp model's got roofs, got slopes. Okay, the model that is a good one to work in, right, is going to be the one that's called APA. That one. That was made by a student a couple of years ago for their final project, right? And it's good, right? But we don't have our, because this was their project site, they got rid of the hotel. We want the hotel back up here, right? But you'll see there, it's a lot of flat roofs, right? There's no as much definition to the city, okay? And that there will be reading, I think it reads through as a CAD file, okay? So I'm going to manage links. It's not loaded. Okay, so it's in the model. There you go. So it's in the model as this existing Waterford, right? So if I isolate that, right, that's what you've got, right? So I think if you could take that SketchUp model and just get the buildings and bring it into the project, I think that would work pretty well, right? And you should be able to lay one on top of the other. So that's one of the tasks there that for the site modeling team to try and get as good an existing model finished off. We're giving you a huge start with all this information, right? Right, and if I then take that again, right, and hide element. Okay, so with all the buildings gone, we have this, you know, as it was back in the Iron Age view. Okay, so I think that would make a big difference to what we've got in terms of this model we're looking at. But you know, it's a pretty good model the guys made for us, right? Or we're using, right? And we've got all our piles in there, and we've got our bridge. We do have another model of the station, but I think it's already incorporated into this model. So we've got a tracks, even got a train on it, right? So a lot of things in there you can use and work with, but that will allow you to get some really good visuals done. If you think about it, taking some views from your apartments, looking across the river and downstream. Okay, I do have another model, right? And it's 3ds Max. I don't know if anybody uses 3ds Max, but I didn't want to put it up there at the minute. But if people want to use the 3ds Max model, we can certainly look at it. Where are we?
Gordon,
Yep.
did you say this was in the general files?
These are, all these models are up in G11 at the minute. In G11 up here, Jeff.
Oh, right, in ACC.
Yeah, they're in ACC and they're in the resources tab. Okay. So the ABT3 group members have got access to this, so they can, you know, for their groups, if you can talk together and bring them over, if you want, into your own projects to have a look at. I think that's the best way, because there's a lot of data in here and a lot of file sizes that I didn't think putting it up onto Teams would be worthwhile. I was kind of more conscious of getting, for at the minute, for the next 2 weeks or week, 2 weeks, for the students to be looking at their designs and to be, you know, looking at the precedents and getting that side of it done without going into modeling. What do you think?
So is the idea this year to get the buildings built and then only placed on the site in the group 11? You're
Yes.
not using shared coordinates per group to start with?
No, well, what we'll look at is that first initial group. That's what the group is going to look at the site, to between them decide who's going to go where. Right. Well, they've got they know where they're going because it's in the brief and it's going from left to right, group 1 to 10. So then it's how they're going to locate on the site, how they're going to react to each other. Okay, get them decisions made. What do they want to do with the keys? Okay, but once they get the sort of location of the building where it's going and the levels and the heights they're going to use, then that information gets relayed back to the rest of their team for designing the tower. And then they can start working away in the tower. And as we spoke about earlier on, even at the very start, we get a grid of A1 set up on the internal origin, which will be the project base point and survey point at the same time, because you'll be on coordinate 000, then we can bring all those models in and locate them where we want. And as long as we're bringing them in from G11 into our site model, we shouldn't have to do shared coordinates then.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah. So what I'm hoping for that we can get is, like, the last number of years we've had some great towers done, but everybody's kind of made their own bits of site modeling. So what I'm trying to do is get a bit of collaboration on getting a coordinated site model made at the same time, and seeing how that can link together, so that we're going to get a kind of two level of coordination within the individual design teams and in the wider master planning team.
So how many people do you envisage in the group 11?
Well,
One-
at least
one-
one person from each group, so they can coordinate
Right.
with their group. They might not all work on the model. That's the thing. There just might be a liaison in there, and some might work on it, and then the other people might go back to their team and work on other stuff.
Yep. Okay.
Okay, so
Yep.
that would be this model there. That APA model would be the one that uses the base, I would say, and you can try and get other information from these other models. And just thinking there, I'm in there. What's that? Group 11. I won't be able to see these models if I go to Revit and I come out of that. Right. If I want to go to here and I want to see group 11, I shouldn't be able to see group 11. Oh, I can. Okay. Because there's no cloud shared. Project folder, master model. Yeah. So I can't see the model because it's not group shared. It's not work shared. So what will happen is we need to get in there to look at the work shared models. Right. I go into G12. I shouldn't say because they're not work shared. Okay. So we need to see, I think we should see the bridge models coming through because they'll be work shared models. So we should be able to see them. I say should. This is where we're going to have some hopefully experimenting and finding out. Okay.
Yeah, I think this is why it's important to get that started by at least midday on Tuesday, sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. No, it'd be important in, like, even on the first afternoon after we've done our initial presentations, you know, that even before we go away, the people that are going to work in the site modeling should be known. Okay, so that's one of the documents, and I know I've seen them starting to share it, the third years there, of their Gantt charts of roles and responsibilities. So who's doing what and when they're doing it. And that would certainly be important to get that site work modeling organized. And even, you know, Tuesday afternoon, yeah, we have a model in there in the bridged folders, so things can get set up and really get a big push on the Wednesday and getting the site modeling moved on. All right.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Gordon.
Cool. Any other questions?
Only one question I already posted in chat. Will this collaboration work with any kind of IFC model or Autodesk product model, or?
Well, not the Revit process.
No, of course
Right.
not in the
And the
files.
linking in has to be Revit, but there's a whole load of file types that you can put up onto ACC,
Okay.
and we
yeah,
can link
I was talking
and we can
about-
link IFC files in. Yeah.
Okay.
So IFC files we can link through.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Anything else? No.
Thank you very
All
much.
right.
Going
No,
on.
well, that's us hit the 2 hour mark.
Yeah,
So-
excellent timing, excellent timing.
Time flies when you're having fun.
Ah, thank you. I hope you did.
It is.
right? But I tried my best to speak as slow and clearly as I could. So
Well, I
hopefully it
understood you, Gordon.
the which?
I understood you.
Ah, thanks. Yeah, I'm thinking about the recording, Francis, for other people
Yeah.
watching it. Yeah. Okay then, guys. Well, I'm gonna leave now, if that's all right with you guys. If there's no more questions, go and get another cup of tea. Okay.
Okay, thanks a lot, Gordon.
And everybody's aware we've got our session tomorrow with Finza. He said it'd be about 45 minutes.
Great.
Okay.
Thanks, Gordon.
All right, guys.
Thank you, Gordon.
Cheers, then. See you, everybody.
See you.
Bye.
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 Cheers.